Hey everybody, Joe Death and the Graven image is printed. This came in the mail last week, and I've just sat with it, just enjoyed flipping actual pages, not looking at these things as files on a screen, and just loving everything about it, how it turned out, and celebrating an accomplishment that's been about 5 or 6 years in the making. And I'm so excited to share it with you here on the channel. I'm just going to talk about what it's like to have a print book, what I think is valuable about print, working with publishers, a little bit of my design and inspiration for how I set the book up and laid it out, and a few other things. So let's jump in. All right, here we are in print. Here's the front and back covers. I'm so excited to flip through this and talk about this book. If you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing the conventions and shows I'll be at this year. I'm about going to about 5 or 6 as of right now. So check them out at the end of this video. Man, this is so surreal, and I feel like I'm gonna just trip over constantly what I'd like to talk about this book and how I'd like to share it. Just as the fact that I've been working on this book for 5 to 6 years. It's gone through multiple stages. It's just been a long road, and I'd like to share a little bit about, as much as I can recall, what inspired me to do this, some of my design inspirations, some of the process of working with a publisher as opposed to self-publishing, and also author reviews and that kind of thing. So let me sit down, take a drink of coffee, and try to discuss this. So this is not my first comic book. It is my first graphic novel. And my first comic book was done in 2018. And it was for the Jim Henson Company, a licensed property. They have The Storyteller, which used to be a TV show, starring John Hurt as this storyteller that was a frame character, and he led you into folk tales from around the world. And this was like my first jump at doing something, doing a comic for a publisher, and I had previously sort of only done sort of web comics, maybe a 9-page story or two on my website. And so this one was really special. I did put my heart and soul into this one as well. And it's 22 pages, and it's very different in style, if you can obviously tell. I've come so far, but really I'm not at all displeased with this. And I was looking at the time, I was looking at Tove Jansson a lot. She's she's Swedish or Danish, but she did Moomin, the Moomin Valley property characters. It used to be a comic strip, just a wonderful black and white illustrator and cartoonist. And I was very much going for her style. I thought there was so much worth there that was not seen. I was not seeing it in much of comics at the time, or still. And that was very helpful for me to, not ape, I suppose is a kind of a dumb way of saying it, but copy or reference, certainly channel like some of her, definitely her lines and her way of hatching and just making images. And that's something I find really valuable. Like, young cartoonists or young artists of any kind think that they need to make something that's wholly original, but they don't realize that the wholly original part comes after ingesting the best art that they like, and then it marries inside them, and it's like a pot that kind of stews, and what comes out of you is a mix of all those things. And so, if you're starting out, don't at all be worried about copying. You should definitely copy, and copy multiple artists, at least probably 3. And over time, you'll learn their strengths and their weaknesses, and you'll be a fully formed artist if you do that for probably 5 years, 5-7 years. But anyway, this is my first book. I stretched here and really grew, and then I went on to do a graphic novel, and that was this. So this book, Joe Death and the Graven Image, was not meant to be a graphic novel. It was meant to be single issues, 22 pages each, and 6 issues. And that's how I pitched it to Dark Horse. And they said, don't do that. You're a new author. That's not going to serve you well. The book market is really growing for graphic novels. Try your best to make it into a graphic novel. And so that was kind of great to hear. Just, if that's the truth, I want to hear it. But it made me change a lot of my writing, or a lot of how I thought about it. There is a difference to me between a comic book that is small and serialized in single issues, and a full-length book, essentially. So if you've watched my channel or been on my website, you'll know there's multiple versions, probably like 3 or 4 versions of the first issue, which are now chapters. So I still have the kind of issue breaks, but they are essentially chapters, and this is what their start looks like. But so switched from being a serialized periodical comic book to being a graphic novel. Let's see. I was blown away, or sort of I know this one moment of when I was like, I have to do comics, and it was when I found Mike Mignola's Hellboy in Hell, and I was just flipping through this version. I wasn't really shopping at comic stores at the time. I was just kind of checking out stuff at Barnes & Nobles, and so this trade paperback collects those issues, and the wealth of like beauty in these books are incredible. The depth of folklore. Mike and Hellboy are drawing on something very much outside of comics. They're drawing on world literature through folktale and through like Shakespeare, and there's a lot of like textual references in here that from a literary perspective, I really, really enjoyed. And because I just don't see that much in comics, actually, where comics can be pretty insular, and they just kind of work on their own tropes. And for me, that just gets really, really tired. And so I wasn't looking at comics much until this book, and it really inspired me to just like figure out how to make comics, and so this book was really helpful. And what was more helpful was seeing Mike's first Hellboy comic, his first story. I think it's 4 or 5 issues. But to see where he begins and where he ends, don't get me wrong, this first book is incredible, but it's not this one. It's from a design perspective, from a color perspective, from a writing perspective. This let me feel a little freer to just go and realize that, like, after how many years, 20 years maybe, this is what you get. So having these kind of bookends and feeling like, okay, like just start something, just do something, and try to make it good, certainly, but keep going, because you're not going to get this without going through just book after book. And Mike has like, what, 12 of these or 14 of these trade paperbacks, and so just a large amount of work, which results in magnificent artwork and writing. And he's with Dark Horse Comics, so that was a huge pull for me to reach out to them and want to work with them. And so you've probably seen, I have a review of this one. This was probably my first comic book that I really remember like cherishing. And it's from Dark Horse as well. It's Star Wars. I mean, I am, suppose, well, we don't need to talk about Star Wars right now, but or at least the current affection for it. Other than I just loved the original Star Wars trilogy, the first three, and so I just gobbled up comics and books. And I feel like that's actually how I started reading, was just reading Star Wars stuff, because I loved it so much. And also at Dark Horse. So these for me, carry a lot of weight, like working with the publisher that, in my mind, is producing a lot of the best stuff, or the stuff that I really appreciate and really like. And so there's that. There's really an affection for a logo, for a symbol, and that factored in when I tried my hardest to bring this logo back. I was able to do it on the cover, on the front cover, and I just couldn't budge them on the spine and the banner down here, or on this little back cover. I tried, but they were pretty firm, and that is okay. But I still got it here, and now you know why. So, whew, it feels really good to be working with the publisher that I kind of grew up with, and this book is 95. Let me just start to flip through a little bit. This book is 95% of like what I wanted it to be, and that is extremely high. I think people think, oh man, I wish it was 100% or whatever. I wish it was too, but that might be impossible. And I'm just extremely thankful and happy that I can say it's 95% of everything that I wanted. But I will let you know what it is kind of missing, or what I would have not chosen. In a second here, let me flip through. It is surreal seeing things in spreads. I did design these pages as spreads, and I got to see that a little bit on a computer. But there's something about having them in a collected book, and seeing them in print that is so fulfilling. The stuff that didn't make it from my original design into this book, it's going to sound minor. It's going to sound very nitpicky, but I suppose my online persona is to be honest, and that's the only way I can do it. So this we open it up. We get a title page here, right on the inside flap, and another title page, and we get this large version. This is from an old. This image is from an older version, and I didn't put that there. Or this version, this image here is from an older version as well, and so is this as well. I didn't choose to put those there. The publisher did, and it's okay. I like freaked out for a second there, but I kind of understand, or at least have a logic for why they did that, because for anyone that was on Patreon or that did follow me and see this version, it's a nice nod. Like it's a nice nod to them and to that original work. For me personally, seeing, I worked really, really hard to level up extremely each time, each version. So to see, for myself to see it there, it's like a specter. I'm like, oh, oh no. So it's tough, man. I mean, it's tough to not be in charge of 100% of everything, but it's okay. Like it's okay, and I can see why they made that decision. Another title page, 3 title pages, I think is a little much. I don't know if I need that many, and I did just kind of want it to start title page, credits, and then boom, we're in. And this is the first experience that you'll get as a reader. But that's we still get it, and I'm so thrilled with how this works. One thing that I did have is, since this is chapters, and since I am looking largely at like book design rather than comic design when I'm thinking about this, I'm trying to pull from a literary context more than comics. So having a chapter number and a chapter title here engraved on the stone, I had set this up, and you'll see it on my website if you go there. I had set this up to have the left side pages having the title, Joe Death and the Graven Image, up here, and the chapter title up here at the top on the right. And the chapter titles would change every chapter, and so you'd kind of get, it's a little bit of wayfinding. They did keep the page numbers, which I'm super thankful, but didn't give me the book and chapter title. It's okay, I'm totally fine, but to be honest, that was something that I really wanted, and it's a part of a wayfinding thing in books, especially books that I want to be cross-referenced. Like, I think there's a lot in here that you're going to have to go back and forth on, and so that chapter title and the book title are really helpful wayfinding, and that's usually in every book that you're going to pick up that's a prose novel or any kind of print book with words, not necessarily comics. I know it's like not done in comics ever, and I think that's why I wanted it, because it's special, and it means something. But anyway, that's all my grievances. I mean, a little bit on the spine, like this is the last thing, I swear. The spine has these, the Dark Horse banner is nice. It's like bold, and but there's like these little ticks of blue on the end, and I don't know why. I don't know why that's there. Because it doesn't conform to anything around other than just this color. So, scratching my head a little bit about that there, but all that to say, I very much prefer working with a publisher than self-publishing, simply because Publishers Weekly can review this. It can be floated to comic book stores. It's in the international market. It's print run. The first print run is 3,000 copies, and I don't have to do any of that. Now, whether or not, the outcome of like this book and how successful it is, at least it won't be because of my distribution, right? Dark Horse Comics is a large publisher in comics, and I'm very confident that if people like this book, they'll be able to get it basically anywhere in the world. So really thankful for them to let me do this. And let's see, have anything else? So the book design, so it's not wholly original, and which I think is good. To reiterate again, I think it's good to find things that you really like, replicate them for yourself, and it's going to be different because the contents and the content is different. So Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, Fatale, their book series was, I love this simple design, really clear, and it's a panel on a cover. And so I think they were referencing Vanity Fair here, maybe, the magazine Vanity Fair, or Vanity. and it really works here. And I just really like that clean simplicity of this. It felt like a literary magazine, or a magazine, or a book. And again, I wanted to replicate that in the design of this book. Another thing that I did remember, I had originally intended for all the page edges to be white. So just again, to replicate a print book. You usually don't have any over printing or bleed on any of the edges of a regular book. And so with these, I had designed these to give a little edge on the end to just keep everything white. And they pushed the black to the edge. That is actually, I feel like, an improvement, because it allows you, it's a very cool wayfinding element where you can do this simply by looking at it's not the spine, but the edges of the pages, and bending a little. You can find which chapter, and you can count the chapters: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 chapters, and you can immediately find them here. So really cool kind of book design stuff. But again, with the layout of the book, I really did look at Mignola as someone who's really careful at setting up the page. So someone that had, his gutter sizes are like, I wouldn't say perfect, but they're not too thin and they're not too wide. There's so many details in here that I feel like I could talk about, but like the gutter size decision, the decision not to push the panels to the edge of the page, that was one I went back and forth on early on, and I'm happy I kept everything within panel borders. But I also got to play a little bit with characters kind of popping out, elements from each panel popping out and playing kind of outside of the border. That was very fun to do. But that standard, I had to have it. I felt like it was very important to have. And it let me, I think, not get too creative. Like the creativity, I feel like it should happen in a framework. Later on, and you'll see that with the mics, like Mike Mignola's work, he really doesn't, he does this now where he'll have a bumped out full bleed panels. And I think it works well, but he didn't start doing this until Hellboy in Hell. I'm pretty sure. There was a lot of most of his comics are just white edged comics, and it doesn't hurt anything at all to do that. It helps. It helps so much. So, except for the first one. The first one he did do like all black, and like later on, I don't think he ever does this anymore. And I have my thoughts why, but I do like that setup. So definitely referencing him. Okay, so I have on my next thing to talk about is book reviews. So, so this book is it is pretty dense. Like there's a lot of talking, and if you've ordered this in Kindle or on a Comixology, and you're going to read it digitally, I don't know if I can say you did it wrong, but you did it wrong. Digital comics, like, I don't necessarily like. I think people can read them just fine. For me, the problem is with digital comics is going back and forth. So like, if I get to page 50 and I'm like, oh man, I think I need to check out page 2. I think there was something important on, or whichever page it was, going back into like a list over here and scrolling down to find the page that I wanted to see. It takes so much time and effort to me. With a book, you just get to flip through instantly, and you can go back to something that was said previously that foreshadows something in the future. You're going to want to do that a lot with this book. There's a lot of exposition in dialogue, not exposition in like an author narrative. It's all dialogue, this book, because I wanted it to feel in this way like a movie, where there isn't text boxes or a narrator necessarily narrating where they are, what they're doing. It's all dialogue or monologue. And so you're kind of shot into this world, and you, as a reader, you're going to find it helpful to cross-reference what's being said. And anyway, that's a pro for a print book. Digital readers, I love you guys. You know that. Okay, book reviews. So this book is out there in the wild. There's a couple reviews out there. A really nice one from Publishers Weekly. They use a lot of big words. Very thrilled about it. But good reads. So if you go to the good reads of this book, you'll notice an interesting thing. And I want to say I predicted this, but I hope that doesn't sound too pious. There's 4 reviews, and 2 stars are 5 stars. 2 reviews are 5-star reviews, and 2 reviews are 1-star reviews. And it's like love me or hate me, but don't give me a 2 or a 3 or a 4-star. I mean, I'll take whatever I'll take whatever you think the book is worth, but that type of splitting of the market or of the audience, I think is really valuable. I mean, the 1-star reviews really, they hurt, you know, but as an author, I have to find out, I have to understand that my work, and it's not for everybody. And the honest opinion of people that hated it is helpful. And that type of splitting, I just really am interested by. The people either loved it or hated it. And if you have a Goodreads account and want to read it and review, please review wherever you want to. But that's an interesting thing that I'm now experiencing now that the book is out and people are reading it. So anyway, that's about all I've got. I hope you've enjoyed just kind of hearing my thoughts about it, flipping through some of these pages. I'm so excited for y'all to be able to read it. Please do buy a copy from either a local comic book store or a local bookstore. They can get you this book, and I would be thrilled. So thank you all. The shows I'm going to be at this year. The first one is a local book launch. It's here in Greenville, South Carolina at the Commons. It's a food hall. Got great beer and drinks and food. And I'll be there March 31st, Friday of this week, from 6 to 9 p.m. I'll have an exhibit of my work, so process pages and large artwork. It's a little bit of an art show, as well as having some books there and other things. I'll be at the Ann Arbor Comic Arts Festival, June 10th through 11th in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'll be at Heroes Con, June 16th through 18th in Charlotte Convention Center in North Carolina. And Fan Expo Denver, June 30th and July 2nd in Denver, Colorado. And the Fanboy Expo Knoxville, July 7th through 9th. And Cartoon Crossroads Columbus, September 27th through October 1st. And I'm so happy to be on the road. And I'm going to be finally tabling at comic shows with a finished graphic novel. So thank you all for listening to this kind of victory lap. I hope it was helpful and enjoyable. If you have any questions or want to see anything, any tutorials or anything you'd like me to address or talk about, please let me know. Once again, thank you so much. Take care.